All right, well, hello everyone. This is a quick intro and explanation for what you need to do for ITP 4, which is where we assign resources to our project document, our project file. Okay, so let's start by looking in Microsoft Project real quick at what we should have. Okay, so this should be the WBS with durations that you built as part of ITP 3, and I'm just using mine here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to add the resources column. So you just come over here to the blank column on the right, you right click, insert column, and you want to you can type in R, and you type in, or you just select resource name, and resource name will show up there. You just have to kind of move it around a little bit to get to it so you can see it. But there you'll see resource name. So now our project file is ready to enter our resources in here. But what you don't want to do is just start typing names into the box. That is not the way you want to do things. You want to use the resource sheet to build your templates for the folks that you're going to choose from rather than typing them in directly. Okay, so I want to show you how that's going to work. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the resource tab on top. You're going to come over here to Team Planner, click the down arrow, and go to Resource Sheet. And you're going to see all of these names here that I entered. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But these are the names of your project team. Okay, so you don't just start typing stuff into the resource column onto the view that we had before. You want to build it here in the resource sheet. It's really straightforward. Now the best way to do this is to do it in Excel first. So I already did it in Excel, so we're just going to do that real quick. It makes it much easier to do it here. And I'll talk about this real quick. So you can do it just like this, you know, your resource name here, and then the rates. You don't need to worry about the rates too much on the spreadsheet. You can enter them in there. Just, you know, your normal rate, and then the overtime rate is usually time and a half. So you enter all the people that are on your project team. So you see myself, and then the other people that are on the project team. And of course, those are all in the charter. You can make them up, change them, whatever you need. We're not going to go back and look at the charter and go, wait, that's different. Okay, you also need to include Mama herself, because you're going to give her some tasks. She's going to have to review some things and sign off on some things. And also Mama's staff, because they're going to have to do some training and some testing. You're not going to pay them, but you need to account for their participation in that task. So those are all the folks you need. So your project team, whatever your names are, Mama plus Mama's staff. In reality, you'd probably list out all the names for Mama's staff, but it's good enough for now just to put staff. We know what it means. Now, when it comes to entering resources into the actual project file, you can do it two different ways. I'm going to recommend one way, but you could do it two ways. One way is, and I'll show you this in a second, on each task you can enter the materials that you use, like it shows in the instructions, you know, for all the pieces of equipment that you're going to use for hardware, software, and such, and all of that, which is very labor intensive. Or my recommended way is you outsource a lot of that to vendors. Okay, and I have all my vendors listed here. Okay, so you could put them right in your resource sheet just like this, and you're going to see them in mine. So I have vendors that are going to do infrastructure consulting, network installation, they're going to do business consulting, they're going to do productivity installation for hardware and software, like the computers they're going to use, the workstations, and Office 365 and all that, payroll and so on. It's much easier if you outsource that to a vendor or a VAR, which is a value-added reseller. So you just kind of list them all here and what they're going to do. So I just made them up, and that's exactly what you'll do. You make them up, and you just kind of keep track of what their function is, so it makes it easier for you. You don't need to actually enter this anywhere. This is just for you to kind of keep track of who's doing what. Okay? It becomes much easier, so that when you say order equipment, you just say order equipment, you put the vendor's name next to it, and then you can enter the amount of the equipment that you ordered, you know, $5,000. You don't need to break it down into each individual item, because that's very, very labor intensive. And in reality, in almost every business, you're going to outsource this to you're going to go through a vendor. You're not going to order it all yourself and list each individual item and then total it all up. It's a whole lot of extra work. So we're going to do it the way we normally would do it in business, where you're going to order stuff from a vendor and you're just going to include the total cost. And then actually in your project file, you could link the contract to it so that you could actually look in the contract and see what you actually ordered. If you have this all built somewhere on SharePoint or whatever, you could just link all those files to it. So the end state of all this here is you have your resources over here, your vendors over here, kind of plan it all out in Excel, and then all you want to do is translate that here into project. So again, you see exactly the same thing here. Here's all my team. Okay, and you can see here's what I'm paying them, the regular rate and the overtime rate. Here's Mama and her staff. I'm not paying them at all. And then here's the difference. All of my vendors, okay, here's the difference. People that you're paying by the hour are the type will be work. You're going to pay them for the hours that they work. If you give them 1 day of work, they're getting paid for 8 hours at the rate that you set here. If you have these folks here, which are vendors, you set their type to cost, not work. Okay, if you set it to cost, you just enter the cost for that particular vendor. When you click on where it says order equipment, you hit the vendor from the drop down and you enter the cost. It makes it much easier. So at this point, we've entered all of our resources. Okay, so now we're going to go back and we're going to start actually choosing these folks. The reason you want to do it here is, you'll see in a second, you click on the task and then you go back to Gantt chart. Now your resources, you see a down arrow. You can choose any one of the folks that you already built into your resource sheet. So if you forget somebody, you just go back to your resource sheet and you add them, and then they'll be there. So for example, this particular thing, IT service design. Okay, well, I had a vendor that was going to do that, and that was I think Dynamic Business Consultants. Okay, so I choose them. Okay, so I have to pay them for this, right? I don't have the signed contract with them yet, okay, or on this particular one, but in this case I need to pay them. So we click on it here. Okay, it opens up. You go to resources and you put what the cost is. Let's say we paid them $500 to do the analysis and to come up with an IT plan for us. And then you can see, I'm just going to get rid of this predecessor column for a second. You can see when I make this wider, the cost is right next to it. So it shows I paid Dynamic Business Consultants $500. Then it comes down to my next task, review options. Well, who's going to do that? You got to choose who from your particular project team is going to do that. And in this case, I'm going to review them, and then later on I'm going to select them. And you notice you might have had days for some of your tasks. You need to really whittle it down. How many hours is it really going to take? Because you're actually paying these people by the hour. So I would choose myself again for that. And if you want to choose more than one person, like if it's 2 people doing a task, you just choose 2 people and they'll show up side by side like this here. And that is all you need to do, and you can continue to do this. So let's go down here where it says order equipment wired infrastructure. Okay, so I ordered my equipment. So I need to choose my vendor here. In this case, let's see, I think it was network specialists. They're the folks that are going to do that. So order equipment. Okay, I go here, I go to resources, network specialist. Let's just say that costs $2,500. And there you go. So all you have to do is think about what you're going to pay for these particular things. So you go through and you look at your project plan and you look at the hardware, the software, the networking, the training, all that other stuff. If you're going to outsource this to people, to different vendors, figure out what you think you're going to pay them and think about it in advance. And you can actually put it on your spreadsheet. And then all you do is you go in here and you add it. So if network specialists is providing the equipment and I paid them here where it says order equipment, or you could put it here where it says signed contract, either way, you account for it there, and then they take care of all the other stuff. So when the equipment shows up, you have to have somebody that's going to receive the equipment, one of your team. And then if network specialist is doing the equipment installation, not one of your team, you just include them here And you don't have to pay them because remember, you already paid for the equipment and the labor with this contract, so you don't need to break it down anymore. It's already paid for, but you need to account for who's doing it and how long it's going to take. So what you want to do is go through your project file, look at the durations of each of the tasks. Do they really make sense? Figure out who's going to do what. Is it going to be a vendor or is it going to be a project team member? And then you just put those folks here, and then you will have completed your resource requirement. Okay, I think that's about all I need to talk about here. So thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.